Today is September 24th, 2025, and this is a meeting of the Bismarck Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to welcome everyone that is joining us on site today and those that are online also. So with that, I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask Sarah to call roll.
Commissioner Bittner? Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Larson? Commissioner Lukens? Commissioner Schell?
Here.
Commissioner Schmitz?
Here.
Commissioner Sivak?
Here.
Wangen?
Here.
Commissioner Zent?
Here.
And Chair Schwartz.
Here, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the first item in our agenda this evening, which is approval of the minutes for the August 27th meeting. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
We have-
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wangen to approve, a second from Commissioner Zent. Any discussion? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. So Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Wangen?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Schell?
Yes.
Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak?
Yes.
Commissioner Zent?
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we move on to the public comment area of our meeting this evening. And again, this is a new item in our agenda. And the intent is that it's going to be about 30 minutes long. We'll allow 5 minutes per person. And the rules would be is that you can address anything that was on last month's agenda or anything on this month's agenda that does not have a public hearing. So with that, I would open the podium for those that would care to address, that would care to speak publicly this evening. And I'm not seeing or hearing any. I'll ask again, is anyone care to come to the podium? And I'm not seeing any, so I'll ask a third time if anyone is interested in coming to the podium to speak. And with that, I'm going to close the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. And we will move on to the next item in our agenda, which is a consent agenda. And there are two items in our consent agenda this evening. The first being parts of Riverview Edition and Mackenzie's Edition. And it's a request for a planned unit development amendment. And staff's recommendation is to call for a public hearing. The second item in our consent agenda is for the 2025 amendments to the growth phasing plan. And again, it's a plan amendment, and staff recommendation is a call for public hearing. So with that, commissioners, I'm asking what are your wishes for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Zent.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Sivak. Any additional discussion? And I'm not hearing or seeing any, so with that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen?
Yes.
Commissioner Schell?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Zent?
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to our regular agenda this evening. And the first item on our regular agenda is item A, which is a William Blackstone edition. And Jenny is going to provide us with staff report.
Good evening, Chairman Schwartz, Commissioners. Michael Ward is requesting approval of a zoning map amendment from the A Agricultural Zoning District to the conditional RM10 residential, R10 residential, R5 residential, and P public zoning districts. Major subdivision plat titled William Blackstone Edition and annexation of all of the proposed plat and all of Tyler Parkway from 57th Avenue Northwest to the northern boundary of the plat. These requests are located in northwest of Bismarck, west of North Washington Street, and north of 57th Avenue Northwest, along the west side of Tyler Parkway. The plat consists of 59.24 acres with 118 lots and 9 blocks. The annexation request includes the entire plat and all of Tyler Parkway from 57th Street to the northern boundary of the plat. The total size of the annexation is 63.03 acres. The area of proposed annexation is contiguous to the existing corporate limits, and all costs associated with extending municipal infrastructure will be the responsibility of the developer. The proposed zoning amendment, final plat, and annexation are being proposed for future residential development. The plat includes green spaces, walking trails, and a neighborhood park. The neighborhood park would be located on Lot 1, Block 6 of the proposed plat, is 2.53 acres in size, and proposed to be zone P public. The park development agreement has been reviewed by staff and is acceptable, and was approved by the Bismarck Park Board at their September 11th meeting. The signed park development agreement will be forwarded to the City Commission for final consideration of the plat, zoning change, and annexation. You held a public hearing on these requests last month. Multiple people spoke during the hearing, including the applicant and their consultant and adjacent property owners. Concerns were raised regarding the speed limit on Tyler Parkway adjacent to the proposed plat, the proposed temporary access point on Lot 12, Block 9, and the proposed RM30 residential zoning on Lot 1, Block 2 of the plat. After additional review by staff and the applicant, the temporary access would be gated and include a Knox box that would be utilized for emergency services to gain access in the event of an emergency. The city will be entering into a development agreement with the developer that lists installation and maintenance responsibilities, timeframes and triggers for removal of the temporary intersection and road, gate and Knox box, and restoration of Lot 12 to a buildable lot. Staff have met with the applicant and their consultant, and they have requested that the RM30 lot that was originally proposed, that Lot 1, Block 2, be zoned conditional RM10 with a building height as a condition, a building height of no more than 40 feet. The height limitation mirrors the height limitation or requirement for principal residential structures in both the R5 residential and R10 residential zoning districts. Staff also reviewed and discussed the concerns raised regarding the speed limit on Tyler Parkway. The city engineer has indicated that a traffic impact study for the proposed development is not necessary at this time. He also noted that the speed limit for Tyler Parkway adjacent to the proposed plat will be monitored and may be reduced if warranted upon annexation and continued development of the property. As part of our normal subdivision submittal and review process, the applicant submitted a waiver to request to modify the lot width at the property boundary adjacent to the street and a lot width at the building setback line, for some of the lots within the proposed plat. The city zoning ordinance currently requires a lot width of no less than 40 feet at the property boundary and no less than 60 feet measured along that line approximately parallel to and 40 feet back from the front property line. Staff is supportive of this request as these lots are either identified as non-buildable green space or adjacent to lots identified as non-buildable green space. The city engineer has also requested temporary turnaround easements outside of the proposed plat at the terminus of Hoburg Drive, Burning Lane, and James Wright Avenue. These easements must be provided prior to recording the plat. The city engineer has also requested a separate dedicated right-of-way or separate easement to the city of Bismarck for all municipal services from 57th Avenue Northwest to the southern boundary of the plat. This easement is proposed to be located within Tyler Parkway and parts of the plat and would be required prior to plat recordation. The applicant's consulting engineer has prepared the easement, which was reviewed by city engineering staff and public works staff. A portion of this easement has been added to the southern to the boundary between lots 13 and 12, Block 9, shown on the revised plat I submitted, handed out to you prior to this evening, and shown on the screen in the next slide. I promise. Yep, if you just want to zoom in between, if you could please zoom in between lots 12 and 13 on the southeast side of the plat. There is a 20-foot water main easement shown. So that is different than what was included in your packet. You considered and voted unanimously to call for a public hearing on the proposed zoning map amendment and tentatively approve the preliminary plat for William Blackstone Edition at your meeting on January 24th of this year. You considered and called for a revised zoning map amendment at your meeting on July 23rd. The revised zoning map amendment included R10 residential zoning for lots 2 through 12, Block 6, and lots 1 through 8, lots 22 through 27, Block 7 of the proposed plat. The applicant and their consultant determined that a zoning of R10 R10 residential would be needed as the buildings proposed did not meet the lot coverage requirements for the R5 district. The R10 district provides for more flexibility and allows for both single and two-family dwellings with a lot coverage limit of 40%. The R5 district allows for 30%. As noted earlier, you held a public hearing on these requests last month and continued the hearing to address concerns raised during the hearing. The public has been notified of this request. The notice was published in the Tribune on August 15th and 22nd, and 29 postcards were mailed to the owners of nearby properties on August 15th. We did receive written comments, which were included in your packet from the last meeting. To my knowledge, we have not received any additional public comments regarding this request. The annexation, zoning map amendment, and major subdivision final plat were evaluated according to standards contained within the comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and state law. As a result of all the findings contained in your staff report, staff find that the proposed annexation, zoning map amendment, and final plat would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare and are consistent with our comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the zoning map amendment from the A agricultural zoning district to the conditional RM10 residential, R10 residential, R5 residential, and P public zoning districts, the major subdivision final plat titled William Blackstone Edition, and the annexation of the proposed plat and all of Tyler Parkway from 57th Avenue Northwest to the northern boundary of the plat, including granting a waiver to reduce the lot width set building lines outlined in the attached waiver request, with the following conditions. Temporary turnaround easements at the terminus of Hoburg Drive, Burning Lane, and James Wright Avenue are provided prior to recordation. Separate dedicated right-of-way or separate easement to the City of Bismarck for all municipal services from 57th Avenue Northwest to the southern boundary of the plat is provided prior to recordation, and a development agreement outlining the installation and maintenance responsibilities, timeframes and triggers for removal of the temporary intersection and access road, gate and knockbox, and restoration of Lot 12, Block 9 to a buildable lot be submitted prior to recordation. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Jenny? Jenny, I have one question for
Sure.
you before you step away. Are you under the understanding that the concerns that were expressed at the last meeting were for the most part addressed?
Staff is comfortable with the concerns being addressed in the staff report as well as with the plat. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Are there additional questions? Commissioner Schell?
Jenny, regarding the development agreement, I think the more appropriate time to have that be approved would be subject to city commission approval and not at plat recordation. So I guess if that'd be something, if this moves forward, to be revised in terms of the timing of when that would be approved.
Sure, and Commissioner Schell, Commissioners, Chairman, we can make that change of the conditions for approval tonight if you wish.
Additional questions for Jenny? I'm not seeing or
Thank
hearing
you.
any. Thank you. With that, this is a continuation of a public hearing from our August 27th meeting. With that, I will open the public hearing. Is either the requester or a representative here to speak to this agenda item?
Good evening, Commissioners. Bob
And
Martin,
Bob, thank you.
representing the Ward family.
I was going to ask you to put your name on the log, and you're
Will
already there.
do. Yeah, I get used to signing it a lot. I just wanted to say that we've just reviewed the proposed developer agreement from the city. Neither I or Mr. Cullen saw anything objectionable in it. We'll be signing it so it can be presented to the city commission, if that is your choice, as soon as possible. We have received the park board development agreement as well, signed by Mr. Clipful. It's being circulated amongst the 6 landowners of the family and the 2 spouses. I signed it this morning. I'm one of the spouses. And everything else seems to have been addressed, I would believe. If you have any questions or comments, I'm glad to listen and try to answer.
Commissioners, questions for Bob? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and attention.
With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, and Chairman Schwartz. My name is Chad Moldenauer, and I got a chance to speak at the last public hearing, and I'm not only an adjacent property owner, but I'm also the developer of Heritage Ridge and Heritage Cottages, which are the two developments that are adjacent to the William Blackstone addition. I guess the first thing that I wanted to say is thank you to the Planning and Zoning Commission for giving us some more time to work with the developers and try to address some of the concerns that were shared at the last Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. I did have a chance to reach out to Nick Cullen and share some of the concerns that I was hearing from some of our adjacent residents. And I know one of the things that came up a lot was the RM30 lot and the opportunity to build an apartment on a space that we felt like wasn't very conducive of a higher density structure like that. Had a really nice conversation, and they agreed to zone it down to RM10 with a 40-foot height requirement. So I think we do feel really comfortable that the style of home or homes that would be built on that lot would be conducive to the style of homes that we have kind of across the way and around the area. So very happy that we were able to come to some mutual agreement on that. There was also some discussion about the gated secondary access, and I think that does quell some of the concerns that we hear from residents about just the multiple access points and the misalignments of the access points. Also had a really good conversation with Jenny Wilmuth with the City of Bismarck, the lead planner. I understand that the city is becoming more flexible for developers, and as a developer myself, I'm definitely a big fan of that. We've got a new planning code that the City of Bismarck is considering adopting right now. I think that's going to allow for more developer options as well, and I think that's a good thing. I do have some lingering concerns about the secondary access and working in 57th Avenue potentially as a secondary access. There was some discussion that Commissioner Schell brought up after the public hearing was closed, kind of about the secondary access points in Heritage Cottages, and I thought maybe it might be helpful for the commission to kind of hear how that occurred and what that process looked like. First and foremost, when we first proposed Heritage Cottages to the City of Bismarck, it did not have a secondary access. It had one access point. We were relying on the International Fire Code, which for multifamily homes allows for up to 100 units to be built without secondary access. It was, I believe, Ron Kunda, who's the fire marshal, he said, hey, you've got to have a second access point here. And then we actually did have a follow-up meeting with Joel Baseflug, who is the fire chief, and he said that we actually treat row houses like this development like single-family homes, so you'd have to have that secondary access point. At that point, it was a county road. There was no talk about the city annexing that road. So I think it was Mr. Schell that said, you've got to reach out to the county and get approval for this secondary access point. We did that. We reached out to Marcus Hall. Marcus Hall was a little bit hesitant, but did grant us that secondary access with the gate on it. So back in those days, I guess the county had kind of full control over what was happening there. Now, it seems as though there's, the city is kind of more in the driver's seat there. So I just wanted to kind of point that out because it was something that was brought up, and that's my recollection of it in looking through emails and trying to reform my thoughts as to what that conversation was. So certainly, Commissioner Schell, if you have anything else to share, I would entertain it.
Commissioner Schell.
I'll just add one item to it, Chad. And the site plan that was submitted to the city for development of that showed one of those access points. The northerly one is a full access, but the southerly one having a gate and Knox box scenario similar to what we're talking about at Blackstone. So that's our understanding of how that will be developed when it's fully completed, but we understand during construction that you might be using those accesses more freely while you're constructing the facilities.
Yes. There's one other thing too that I'd like to point out, Gabe, is that there was some conversation about what came first, the chicken or the egg, which development was happening when, and I did go back and do some research, and our site plan was actually approved March 4th, 2022. The pre-application meeting, as you can see in your packets, first occurred for the Blackstone development April 5th, 2023. Ours was actually in the works about a year before then, so I know there was some conversation about matching up the access points, and they were happening at the same time, but but we were in the works at least a couple of years before the Blackstone development was being proposed with the city of Bismarck. So still like to see those access points match up. I know from just hearing the conversation at the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that that may be tough for us to achieve at this point. But in a perfect world, I think, and as the county even talked about in the last meeting, they like to see those access points match up too. I do still have some lingering concerns about the secondary access. As a developer, as someone that lives close to the road, I know what kind of speed that traffic moves at. I'd really like to see 57th Avenue put in as a secondary access point. One of the things that we requested from the developer was kind of a master plan of the roadway so that we could see kind of how those roadways interworked with the future phase of the development. And Nick was kind enough to provide that to us. The first access point on that roadway master plan that he showed us is 2,195 feet from the intersection. Obviously, I don't have the ability to tell other people what to do with their land or how to develop it, but I'd like to see something a little bit closer to that intersection because I know what kind of traffic moves to that road, and I just feel like having more traffic go onto the intersection versus a temporary secondary access, which is now gated off, would be a better idea. I also wanted to and Casey Enram I see is here for the county, so I don't need to speak for him, but there was also some statements made at the last meeting that the county was kind of holding up the construction of that roadway on 57th Avenue, and I just wanted to share a very quick experience that I had when I was developing Heritage Ridge and Heritage Park. We needed a secondary access for between Sonora Way and Crested Butte Road. At that time, it was a gravel road. And there was an impression, at least that I got, that the county was going to pay to pave that road. I was very quickly brought to the realization that was not going to happen. And so as a developer, I needed to pay that part of the road. So as a developer, you run into things like this all the time where there's a section of road that's maybe not developed that you need, or either the city tells you have to have it, the county has to have it, says you have to have it, you just roll with the punches and you put it in, which has always been kind of my experience in the past. I do feel like 118 lots, 130 plus homes is too many for one access point. Even if there is a gated secondary access point, I think those people in the development are going to need that place to get in and out of as badly as the folks that are emergency service personnel. So personally, I'd still like to see a traffic study to show that access point is safe. I'd like to see a traffic study to show that we have the correct speed on that road. Casey from the county will probably tell you that the road was designed for 55 miles an hour, so whatever you put there, people are going to travel at that speed. But as someone who sees that, what happens on that road every day, I would feel better if there was a better secondary access. We also heard last time there was a potential school site that is being considered on that property, and once again, it raises the question, how and when that secondary access comes in place on 57th, and who pays for that when it does happen. So I don't want to take any more of your time. I probably have droned on longer than I should, but last time that I was here, I asked the commission to take the time to get it right, and I really appreciate that you consider continuing the public hearing so that we could work on some of these concerns that we had. And I still believe really strongly that we should see that 57th Avenue access. So if you do decide to move it on to the City Commission for their consideration, I would strongly urge you to consider adding that 57th Avenue secondary access. That's all I wanted to share today. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you again, and certainly sit for any questions if you have any.
Commissioners, questions for Chad? I'm not seeing any, Chad. Thank you for your comments
Chair
and for the
Schwartz.
clarifications.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I hope I'm not jumping the line. Have a couple of brief observations and a response or two. The reason that the access onto 57th Avenue Northwest is 2,000 feet from the corner is that we're trying to comply with the city's overall master plan for the roads and the access and incorporate them into our development. And it's actually sort of a misnomer to say it's only 2,000 feet because it has to run up into the development as well to connect with our road system, probably closer to 3,000 to 4,000 feet. I would respectfully submit that telling the developer to suck it up by putting in 3,000 feet of pavement is a little unrealistic under the circumstances, especially when the concerns of the secondary access are addressed as per the request of the city. We've been very compliant with the city. it's becoming increasingly obvious we can't please everybody. But, and I would also add that the school that we were talking about is not going to be to the south of the current development. Phase 2 is going north, and that would probably even bring a bigger play of reducing the speed limit as more and more houses in the school system is actually incorporated into that. So nothing for nothing, but some of these objections are starting to seem a little like they just want to slow us down entirely. We've been very patient. We've put in 2.5 years working with the city, with these commissions, and with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we would really like to have our project annexed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Bob. Podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item.
My name is Mike Marole. We've heard from developers on this development, and I am a resident in the area. I live at 6201 Tyler Parkway, across the street from this development. And I first want to thank the commissioners and chairman for hearing our concerns last month and changing the zoning for this development. That's much appreciated. But we still have concerns, I believe, as residents in this area with the access and people coming from this development and also from Heritage Cottages on the other side. And I do believe that there is a real concern there. And if you look at what's being proposed with 2 temporary accesses that are ultimately going to be gated, it appears to us then that we have, coming from Heritage Cottages, 1 access out to Tyler Parkway, and this development's going to have 1 access out to Tyler Parkway. And it's disturbing that the accesses don't align. So you're going to be coming out to Tyler Parkway and you're going to have to look over, I don't know how many feet, to see if somebody's coming out of the development, plus watch your traffic. And it's much easier when the intersection lines. That's one of my big concerns for myself and family and friends there. The access, if there was an access off of 57th, that would serve as at least the folks on the other side within the Blackstone development an alternative to either come out on Tyler Parkway or 57th. And they would have sole use of that portion of 57th Avenue there to get out of their development. And so it is important for us that you know, that things are done, all the differences or issues are looked at and considered. And to me, it's more than just whether the intersections align and the speed on Tyler Parkway. It's, are there going to be turning lanes? Is it recommended to have turning lanes into our developments? Crosswalks. Crosswalks going to be aligned, or are they going to be offset? You know, who gets the crosswalk, our development or the other development? And it seems like this is all temporary, but I believe that it's going to take a long time for this development to develop out to the full development. So I think it's very important to look at what's proposed today that would be into the foreseeable future and take that in consideration. I was very disappointed to hear that the traffic impact study is going to be delayed and kind of taking an attitude, let's wait and see type of attitude. To me, planning is all about doing it up front right the first time. And I heard concerns about the time it takes and money to make changes. $60,000 to change the plat seems to ring a bell. To me, that's insignificant to what's being proposed in terms of this development and the impacts it's going to leave to those of us that are in the area using these roads and so forth. And I just want to leave one last comment is is there's a saying that says, if you think you don't have the time and the funding to do things right the first time, what makes you think that you're going to have the time and the money to make corrections later? And I think that bodes true here, very much so. So unless there's any questions.
Commissioners, questions for Mike? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you for voicing your concerns.
Yep, thank you.
Excuse me, if we could hold down the applause this evening. We like them for applauding. I appreciate the support for everyone, but it's not an appropriate time for doing that. So if you would hold it until after the meeting, that would be great. Thank you. The podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item.
Daryl Dobagai, I'm also a neighbor of Mike's. We're right next door to each other. One question, the RM10, there's a R10 and a RM10. What's the difference between them two?
Jenny, would you care to address that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the R10 is allowed for single and two-family. The RM10, you could have multiple families,
Okay.
similar to what you guys have
Right.
across the street, no more than 10 units an acre, and I think the site is just shy of an acre, or just a little bit more than an acre, I don't remember offhand. And then that height limit, so it matches the residential structures in the
So
area.
2 5-plexes or 2 6 or something like that?
Perhaps.
We're thinking perhaps, okay. And I just wanted to say, instead of clapping for Mike, that everything he said was well put, well understood, and deeply, we all feel the same way. So if we could just ditto them comments, that's what I would say. Thank you very much.
Sounds good, Daryl. Thank you. The podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing or hearing any. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing for this item. Jenny, do you have any further comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just if the board does choose to recommend approval with the modification to the one condition that was outlined by Commissioner Schell.
And which one was that, Jenny? You've got 3 of them listed.
I did do 3 of them.
3?
That the development agreement be submitted for final consideration with the city commission, not prior to recordation. Correct, Commissioner Schell?
Yep,
Thank
that's
you.
correct. I guess in my view, I think it'd be more appropriate to make sure that the plat isn't approved without that development agreement with it at the time that the plat's actually approved.
Okay, so you'll change the wording on that condition. All right, thank you. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for an annexation, a zoning map amendment, and a major subdivision final plat. And staff recommendation is to approve with the 3 mentioned conditions. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve with conditions.
We have a motion from Commissioner Zent to approve.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wagon. Commissioners, the floor is open for discussion. Commissioner Schell.
Thank you, Chair Schwartz. I just wanted to address the traffic study component. It's something that we do require from time to time on developments as they come in. For this one in particular, the types of things that we'd look for on a traffic study would be compliance with our master plans. It would be looking at where those access points are, and it'd be looking at the speed. And those would be all things that we've had internal discussions and feel comfortable with those answers. The master plan meets our compliance component with master plans, or excuse me, the plat does. In terms of the access points, I would have a strong desire to have those access points line up directly across from each other if there was a high degree of likelihood that traveling public will be crossing the roads to get just from one side of the street to the other, whether it's to get to the school or to get to a park or to get to that development, whatever it might be. But when the adjacent developments and the adjacent roadway networks will be likely using Tyler Parkway just to gain access to other locations north and south on Tyler Parkway and less likely to be crossing to go to the neighbor's house across the street. I have less of a desire to have those roadways line up opposing each other directly. So it's all things that we've discussed internally, and we didn't view that a traffic study with a recommendation to consider monitoring the speeds on Tyler Parkway is worth the effort, because we know that that's something that we'll need to do and that we will be doing, is monitoring the speeds and considering lowering those speed limits with the timing of development. Many of these traffic studies don't list out you shall do this or you must do this. They're just suggestions and recommendations that then staff and ultimately the boards would take into consideration. So we felt like we had a good handle on the traffic impacts associated with this development and didn't need any additional analysis performed. So safety is always top of mind for us. And it's not something that we didn't do. It's just something that we felt we had those answers without the need of additional analysis.
Thank you, Commissioner Schell. Commissioners? Commissioner Johnson?
And Commissioner Schell, I'm not sure if this is for you or not, but just outside of this, there are collector roads in the future road plan. Is it fair to assume that at this point, those roads are going to be in place as this develops and collecting a lot of the traffic as this continues to fill in, and whether it's a school or more houses, that those collectors, which are planned to align with 64th and go down to 57th, would be in place and taking most of that traffic?
Commissioner Johnson, I guess that's our expectation. I mean, all we can see right now is the plat in front of us, but as we've looked at what the master plan looks like for this entire section of land, and how this particular first edition fits into that larger master plan, and we have a comfort level that is where the majority of that traffic or the high generating traffic uses would be developed along that collector road network. So when it is time to talk about where's a traffic signal or a roundabout on some of these corridors, it's onto that collector roadway network and not just the James Wright Avenue that might only have 100 vehicles coming to it. It's on that collector roadway up the way or down on 57th that might see some more active transportation there.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioners, additional discussion? All right. Well, I don't see any more. So with that, we have a motion on the table to approve. Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schell?
Yes.
Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Seabuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen?
Yes.
Commissioner Zent?
Yes.
Chair Schwartz?
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we move on to item B in our regular agenda, which is Olive Tree Second Subdivision. And Jenny is once again going to provide us with staff report.
Thank you, Chairman Schwartz, Commissioners. Derek Horner is requesting approval of a major subdivision final plat titled Olive Tree Second Subdivision. The proposed plat includes a previously platted lot where Mr. Horner's home is and adjacent unplatted property. Both properties are zoned rural residential. This request is located northwest of Bismarck along the west side of Burnt Creek Loop and south side of Dietrich Place and consists of 7.05 acres with one lot in one block. You tentatively approved the proposed plat at your meeting on August 27th. Adjacent land uses include rural residential to the north and west and east across Burnt Creek Loop, undeveloped rural residential zone property to the south and west. The public has been notified of this request. A notice was published in the Tribune on September 12th and 19th, and 88 postcards were mailed to the owners of nearby properties on September 12th. Hay Creek Township was also notified of this request on August 4th and have not yet provided a comment. Additionally, physical signs providing information on the public hearing were placed in a publicly accessible spot on the project on September 9th. We did receive one phone call, neither for or against this request, just curious. This request was evaluated according to the standards contained within our comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. As a result of all the findings contained in your staff report, staff find that the proposed major subdivision plat would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare and is consistent with the comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the major subdivision final plat for Olive Tree Second Subdivision. Do you have questions?
Commissioners, questions for Jenny? Jenny, I am not seeing or hearing any. So with that, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing and ask if the requester or representative here to speak to us. And
Thank you.
Landon is.
Thank you, Chair Schwartz. Yeah, just to add a little bit of detail to what Jenny had presented to you. Everything absolutely perfect, of course. Just looking for an expanding of somebody's existing rural residential lot to allow them a little bit better space for an accessory building in the future. We also provided the city with sort of a master plan for the area. Most of the area is undeveloped to the south and to the west of this, just showing that if somebody were to develop later on, there is room for road connectivity and things like that. So I'm certainly can answer any questions if you have them, though.
Commissioners, questions for Landon? Commissioner Shell.
Landon, can you maybe address the 42-foot non-access line on the south side of Burnt Creek Loop and why that's included on this particular plat?
Certainly, Commissioner Shell. So right now, the roadway already exists on the east side of this plat, but it is a section line road, so we will be dedicating 75 feet of right-of-way. However, the county still has, of course, or really anybody has rights to access that 33 feet that is statutory right-of-way on a section line. So of that 75 feet, 42 feet of it is a non-access line, so that this property and the property south of it cannot be accessed through the right-of-way at that point. But the 33 feet of statutory still exists.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shell. Commissioners, any additional questions for Landon? I'm not seeing or hearing any. Thank you. With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing or hearing anybody stepping up. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, this is a request for a major subdivision final plat, and staff's recommendation is to approve. What are your wishes?
Move to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wagon to approve,
Second.
a second from Commissioner Zent. Any discussion, commissioners? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Field,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Seebach. Thank you. Commissioner Seebach,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we move on to item C in our regular agenda, which is Silver Ranch, third edition, third replat. And Isaac is going to provide us with staff report this evening.
Yes, good evening, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. So for this next regular agenda item, we have Stoneshire Builders LLC, who is requesting approval of a zoning map amendment from the RM20 residential zoning district to the RM20 and R10 residential zoning district, and a minor subdivision final plat titled Silver Ranch 3rd Edition 3rd Replat, as you can see on the screens before you. This project is located in northeast Bismarck in the northeast quadrant of 43rd Avenue and Silbernagle Drive. The project area consists of about 3.65 acres, and it is a replat of Lot 1, Block 15 of Silver Ranch 3rd Edition, including the adjacent rights-of-way of Davies Drive, Silbernagle Drive, and 43rd Avenue Northeast. So for this minor plat project, they are changing the existing one lot in one block to 13 lots in one block. And the zoning map amendment portion will keep the northernmost of those 3 lots as RM20, as you can see here. And then those southern 10 lots would be R10 residential zoning district. The applicant intends to use the minor plat and zoning map amendment to facilitate some row house style development of either 2 or 3 units in each building. And as the property is in the broader Silver Ranch series of developments, it would be primarily bordered on the west side by other residentially zoned land that is still developing. There is some commercially zoned land to the south that is undeveloped right now, and then kind of to the east, northeast or so, there is some land that is intended to be for stormwater retention and management there. The plat is identified as neighborhood mixed use in the future land use plan, which are broadly considered the social and gathering spaces, commercial gathering spaces for the surrounding neighborhoods. And then the public was notified of this request via publications in the Bismarck Tribune on September 12th and 19th, and 4 postcards were mailed to owners of nearby properties on September 12th of this year. And additionally, a physical sign providing information on the public hearing was placed in a publicly accessible spot at the project location on September 9th of this year as well. To my knowledge, though, staff has not received any inquiries or written comments prior to this hearing regarding this request. So, as a cumulative result of all of the findings contained in the staff reports before you, the City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed subdivision, minor subdivision final plat, and the accompanying zoning map amendment would not adversely impact public health, safety, and general welfare, and that it is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. So, therefore, staff recommends approval of the zoning map amendment from the RM20 residential zoning district to the RM20 and R10 residential zoning districts, and approval of the minor subdivision final plat titled Silver Ranch 3rd Edition 3rd Replat. Does the commission have any questions for me at this time?
Commissioners, questions for Isaac? Commissioner Zant?
Isaac, so the average lot size is about what, 50 by 120, 48 by 120? Does that ring a bell?
I'll believe you until I double check it here.
So is that consistent with the rest of the lots in Silver Ranch?
Commissioners and Chair Schwartz and Commissioners, I would have to double check to see exactly how that matches up with the other lots, but it would be of sufficient size for the R10 and RM20 residential districts.
Thank you, Commissioner Zant. Commissioners, additional questions? Commissioner Shell?
Isaac, regarding the zoning component and the need to keep some of it as RM20, whereas the rest moved to R10, can you maybe just walk through the distinction between the two? And it kind of seems like it's one big concept, but why is there a difference between the zoning?
Certainly. So there's two reasons for that, Commissioner Shell, Chair Schwartz, and Commissioners. The first part is that in the R10, you can have a twin home or two row house type units side by side. You cannot have three or more. In the RM districts, whether that's RM 10, 15, 20, 30, you can have three or more wide. So that's part of the reason that some of this is staying RM 20 in this case, and the others are going to R10. Then that other part is the R10 has a slightly smaller minimum side yard setback of 6 feet compared to 10 feet for RM districts as well. So those are the two reasons there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shell. Commissioners, additional questions for Isaac? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Isaac.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, this is a public hearing, and I will open the public hearing for this agenda item. Is either the requester or representative here to speak to it? And I'm not seeing anybody jumping up, so with that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And again, I'm not seeing anybody jumping up, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, and Isaac, any additional comments?
No additional comments, Chair.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Schwartz, if I may, I can elaborate a little bit on Commissioner Zent's question. I have the advantage of looking at the computer while Isaac was up at the podium, but there are other lots within Silver Ranch 3rd Edition that are similar in width, just down the street on Davies Drive, roughly 40 feet in width or so. So this would be fairly consistent with that.
Daniel, thank you for the clarification. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for a zoning map amendment and minor subdivision final plat. Staff recommendation for both is to approve. What are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Schmitz.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Sivak. Any additional discussion? Commissioner Shell.
I just wanted to note, probably for the record's sake, the City of Bismarck is the owner of the property across the street from this proposed zoning change and replat at Davies and Silver Eagle Drive with the purpose of that purchase to house a future fire station at some point in time. So it's not something that we're pursuing the construction of said fire station now or in the immediate future, but that might be why you didn't hear any neighbors, because the City of Bismarck's the neighbor, and maybe just put on the record when that fire station does show up, so at least more from the public could look back on meeting minutes from 10 years prior to, or whatever it might be, to note that that was the intended plan of that site and isn't surprised when a fire station shows up now in the neighborhood, maybe in the future.
Commissioner Shell, is that the CA zoned area below?
Commissioners, Chair Schwartz, it's actually the RM20. If you want to pull the
RM20.
map back up for a second, Daniel, or Dakota Media Access, that would be just maybe to show a visual of what we're talking about for a second. Yep, so be the site there that is being highlighted on the screen, or was highlighted on the screen until the screen disappeared. Yeah, now we're back.
Right there, the,
Yep, so just west of the proposed plat here of Silver Ranch 3rd Edition 3rd replat is what is owned by the city.
thank you for the clarification. Okay. With that, any additional discussion, commissioners? All right, we have a motion on the table to approve. Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Field,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. We move on to item D in our regular agenda, and it's Silver Ranch 5th Edition, part of blocks 2 through 5. And again, Isaac is going to present us with staff report.
Yes, thank you again, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. For this regular agenda item, we go to a different area of the broader Silver Ranch neighborhood. InvestCorp is requesting approval of an annexation of lots 11 through 12, Block 2, lots 14 through 19, Block 3, lots 1 through 2, Block 4, and lots 1 and 2, and 35 through 38, Block 5 of Silver Ranch 5th Edition, and the adjoining rights-of-way of Davies Drive and Halverson Avenue, or more succinctly, parts of Blocks 2 through 5. As you can see on the screens before you, this project is located northeast of Bismarck, north of 43rd Avenue, along future extensions of Davies Drive and Halverson Avenue. This particular annexation request consists of about 4.1 acres of land and includes a total of 16 lots in 4 blocks. So this project area is part of the plat of Silver Ranch 5th Edition, which the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of in May of this year, and it was then approved by the City Commission on July 8th of 2025. So this area is still in the very early stages of development, and as such, the surrounding area is largely undeveloped. But if you remember, part of that previous project that came through was a zoning map amendment to change this area to a PUD. That the plat, the PUD, those are still in the final stages of being recorded, finalized, published, all of that. So when that is approved or formally finalized, we would expect to see primarily single-family homes in this area with some lots designated for stormwater management as well as a community clubhouse or community center. But again, those are still being finalized. The zoning map amendment project also previously was included with that major plat, had 2 separate annexation projects as well. Those projects are also still in the process of being finalized. So once they are formally finished, this area would be, as you can see there, this area would be adjacent to city limits. Right now, it technically is not, so there will be a condition, which I will highlight in a second. But this area is identified as being an urban neighborhood in the future land use plan, which is broadly described as places for the quiet enjoyment of home life. And the public will be notified of this request prior to the public hearing at the City Commission in accordance with state law, as well as formal notifications to Burleigh County and Gibbs Township, since technically this is not a public hearing right now. So as a cumulative result of all findings contained in this staff reports before you, City of Bismarck staff find that the annexation would not adversely impact public health, safety, and general welfare, and that it is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. So staff recommends approval of the previously described lots and blocks, succinctly put as part of blocks 2 through 5, Silver Ranch 5th Edition, and the adjoining rights-of-way of Davies Drive and Halverson Avenue, with the condition that the previously approved annexation of lots 20 through 27, Block 3, Lot 44, Block 4, and lots 32 through 34, Block 5 of Silver Ranch 5th Edition, and the adjoining rights-of-way of Davies Drive and Halverson Avenue is recorded prior to this annexation. Does the Commission have any questions for me at this time?
Commissioners, questions for Isaac? I'm not seeing any, Isaac.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Commissioners, this is a final consideration for an annexation. Staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions. What are your wishes?
Move to approve with
We-
condition.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Wagon.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? I'm not seeing or hearing any. Sarah, please call roll.
Commissioner Field,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Seebach,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we move on to item D in our regular agenda, which is Silver Ranch 5th Edition. And once again, Isaac is going to provide us with staff report.
Hello again, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. We are getting a lot of Silver Ranch additions in this particular meeting. For this one, we are going to, broadly speaking, the entirety of Silver Ranch 5th Edition, where Silver Ranch 18 LLLP and Investcorp Inc. are requesting approval of a revision to the zoning map amendment that I described a little bit in the last agenda item, where there was a request to go from the A Agricultural District to the RM20 Residential Zoning District and a PUD plan unit development in the area that is, will soon be called Silver Ranch 5th Edition. So this project is located kind of in the northeast portion of Bismarck, north of 43rd Avenue, east of Silver Ranch Boulevard, Silver Boulevard, along future extensions of Davies Drive and Halverson Avenue. So just kind of making sure we're all comfortable with the background of this, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision and the zoning map amendment at your May 28th, 2025 meeting, and then the City Commission approved the projects at their July 8, 2025 meeting. The applicant has requested a revision to the PUD portion of the zoning map amendment, not the RM20 portion. But for the PUD portion of the zoning map amendment, there is a request to adjust some of the front yard setbacks of the proposed single-family homes from 25 feet, which was previously approved, to 20 feet for yards that would have a garage face fronting on a street. And then for corner lots, the other portion that would not have a garage face is proposed to go to 15 feet. Additionally, the minimum lot width is being proposed to go from 55 to 50 feet. Nothing on the plat itself is changing. This is just going to offer a little more flexibility in case some things need to be moved around in the future via lot modifications, for example. Again, the proposed subdivision is not being proposed to change. The RM20 residential portion of the zoning map amendment is not being proposed to change. And as you can see there, the surrounding land to the northeast and south is still undeveloped or agricultural land. And to the west, we have some of the earlier phases of the Silver Ranch neighborhood. So the plat is the plat area where the PUD portion would be requested to be revised a little bit is identified as urban neighborhood and parks and open space in the future land use plan, and these areas are respectively described as places for quiet enjoyment of home life and as areas kept largely in a natural state, providing various important functions for the community. So the public was duly notified of this revision request via publications in the Bismarck Tribune on September 12th and 19th, and 12 postcards were mailed to owners of nearby properties on September 12th as well, and then a physical sign providing information on the hearing was placed in a publicly accessible spot at the project location on September 9th as well. But to my knowledge, staff has not received any written comments or inquiries regarding this request or the revision request. So, as a cumulative result of all of the findings contained in the staff reports, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed revision to the zoning map amendment would not adversely impact public health, safety, and general welfare, and that it is generally consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the revision of the zoning map amendment request from the A Agricultural District to the RM20 Residential Zoning District on Lot 1, Block 1, and Lot 1, Block 2, but then for the remainder of the plat of Silver Ranch 5th Edition, going from A Agricultural to a PUD plan unit development. Does the commission have any questions for me at this time?
Commissioners, questions for Isaac? Commissioner Shell.
Isaac, maybe a question then a comment on the lot width. If the plat is already approved, does the 55 to 50 foot change that's being discussed affect the plat, or is there something in the plat that would need to be adjusted also, or can you maybe speak to that?
Commissioner Shell, Chair Schwartz, and Commissioners, perhaps the applicant's consultant can answer that a little more clearly, but to my understanding, the plat is not changing, so by reducing the minimum width, the lot widths would still be conforming because the lots themselves are not getting smaller.
So it probably would be a follow-up question then for the applicant of what that accomplishes then if the plat itself is not changing what the minimum lot width in zoning would accomplish. So that'll be a question for the applicant.
Thank you, Commissioner Shell. Commissioners, additional questions for Isaac? I'm not seeing any, Isaac. Thank you. With that, this is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. And is either the requester or a representative here to speak to this agenda item?
Thanks again, Chair Schwartz. Yeah, just to add a little bit to what Isaac has presented and to Commissioner Schell's question. A few things happened with this PUD. If you guys remember this before, when we were bringing this forward, we were really focused on sort of what are the community aspects of this PUD. They have some shared fence lines and some shared things like that. The community center, a lot of items that'll work together as a community, and some of the details of the individual lots possibly were left out at that point. So here we're sort of here to correct that, particularly for the corner lots, which are, we're trying to do a little denser single family. It's a 55+ community. The homes will occupy a bit more space than what would typically be done in an R5 district in the city of Bismarck. The 15-foot side yard on what is effectively a corner lot. Of course, there's no garage there, so there's no need for a driveway. Allows us to have a little smaller lots to work on those corner lots. For the 20-foot setback, and this relates to Commissioner Schell's question regarding what difference does it make now that if the plat's already approved, why would we have a different front yard width that is required? Our concern there is a little bit of some of the pie-shaped lots, how that gets interpreted. So you have a lot that gets wider at the back. If the home is coming closer to the front, then that front can get a little snug sometimes. So we like to just give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. We don't anticipate anything being smaller than 55, but that just gives us that a couple of feet there just to deal with it.
Fair enough. Commissioner Shell?
Maybe I'll just add another comment to that, Landon. Thank you for the piece on the lot width, but the minimum front yard setback of 20 feet. A lot of times where we as staff have found issues is a driveway constructed with a garage, and then that vehicle parked in front of the garage doesn't pull all the way up to the garage, and it might be a 20-foot long vehicle in and of itself, and so that tail end, its hitch, whatever might be behind it, is projecting into the public right-of-way and into the sidewalk area. So I just note that that's a concern. We're not looking for those problem areas, but when the citizens say, I can't walk on the sidewalk because there's things projecting into them, we would then follow up with that landowner saying you're encroaching in the right-of-way without authorization, and it just becomes a compliance component. So hopefully everyone who builds a house and lives here, it drives a small car, or if they drive a big car, they pull it all the way into the driveway or at least onto their own property.
Sure. And Commissioner, just to address that a little bit, we're anticipating that the driveway will still be that full 25-foot length. Most of these homes are designed to particularly have like sort of larger front yard decks and that extend out into that setback. So that setback is really going to apply more to a covered deck in the front rather than to the face of the garage, even though it would be allowed, but the intent is to have those front yard spaces.
Okay, great. Thanks, Landon.
Thank you, Commissioner Shell. Commissioners, additional questions for Landon? I'm not seeing any, Landon. Thank you. With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing anybody stepping up at this point. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, this is a request for a zoning map amendment, and staff recommendation is to approve. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Zent. A second from Commissioner Sivak. Any discussion, commissioners? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. So with that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Wangen?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak?
Yes.
Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Shell?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Zent?
Yes.
And Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. And we are down to item F in our regular agenda, which is short-term rentals. And Lauren is going to provide us with staff report.
Good evening, Chairman Schwartz and Commissioners. The Community Development Department is requesting approval of a zoning ordinance text amendment to sections 14-02-03 and 14-03-06 of the City Code of Ordinances to allow short-term rentals as a use on residential properties. So some background for this request. The topic of short-term rentals was brought up through the current land development code process by both members of the steering committee and was also identified as a specific area of interest through some engagement with members of the community. It's also been brought up, and it is currently within our Together 2045 comprehensive plan as an objective. Due to this interest, as well as that objective within the comprehensive plan, staff thought it would be best to have a separate zoning ordinance text amendment for this self-contained topic, rather than combining it with the full land development code process. Staff did bring this item to the Bismarck Planning and Zoning Commission on April 23rd of this year and asked for direction on this topic. The Planning and Zoning Commission then directed city or community development staff to prepare a zoning ordinance text amendment for short-term rentals. There is a draft of the ordinance within your agenda packet. That zoning ordinance text amendment includes a definition for short-term rentals. It also notes that a residential appearance must be maintained. Only permanent residential units or structures classified as permanent residential units can be a short-term rental. Noise and parking requirements for residences would apply for these, as well as international building code requirements would need to be met. So just some information on what was looked at as we compiled this draft ordinance. So there were several areas that were reviewed when drafting this. One of those was looking at regulations from peer communities or what other communities have been doing. So there are several cities in North Dakota that do not have current ordinances in place. West Fargo, I believe, is currently in the process of drafting an ordinance. They have not adopted it yet. So that would be the one place within North Dakota that's actually looking at doing this. What their current draft is it's a little bit more restrictive, and it has a little bit more requirements than what we're currently proposing tonight. Some additional peer cities were reviewed, like those in South Dakota or Montana, and several of those do have certain requirements in place. Some of those requirements included requiring permits from property owners, requirements to provide certain licensures from the state as part of that permit application, and then requirements for maintaining that residential appearance. So some additional areas that were reviewed when drafting the ordinance included zoning practice publications from the American Planning Association, as well as the National League of Cities. Additionally, host information from some common short-term rental platforms was reviewed by staff as well as members of the steering committee. Some tax requirements for short-term rentals, including information from the North Dakota Office of the State Tax Commissioner, was reviewed. A little brief rundown of that is included within the staff packet. However, it was not included within the actual ordinance itself, as those requirements are a little bit outside of the purview of the zoning. Short-term rental postings in Bismarck were reviewed from two of the more common short-term rental platforms, VRBO as well as Airbnb. Just a rundown of what that looked like is also included within the agenda packet. The identified numbers for those are more of a reference to give the Planning and Zoning Commission an idea of what community members or members coming into the community can see for short-term rental options. But they're not meant to be representative of an actual number of short-term rentals that are in the community. Additionally, a stakeholder group, including representatives from the Bismarck Planning and Zoning Commission, the Bismarck Mandan Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Chamber EDC, downtowners, as well as short-term rental owners and city staff, was compiled to help create the draft ordinance. The group met twice between May and July, and they reviewed requirements from the peer communities, and identified how short-term rentals function within Bismarck. Some additional public engagement did occur. An online survey was promoted on the city's website, as well as social media accounts between July and August. 74 responses were received. These survey results are included as an attachment to this item within your staff report. Additionally, a notice was published in the Bismarck Tribune on September 12th and 19th. Staff has received one comment from an individual who is against short-term rentals. That should have been provided to you before the meeting. The request was evaluated according to standards contained within the Comprehensive Plan Code of Ordinances and state law. And as a result of those findings contained within the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed zoning ordinance text amendment would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the zoning ordinance text amendment to sections 14-02-03 and 14-03-06 to allow short-term rentals as a use on residential properties. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Lauren? Commissioner Johnson.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, or see Brady over there too, but the last must comply with International Building Code. Is that mainly if they go over a certain unit number of units within there, that they're aware that they may trigger that, or what would be the reason for that?
I'll let Brady answer that one.
Hi, I'm Brady Blaskowski, the building official for the city of Bismarck. We wanted that in there just as kind of a safeguard to note that there is building code requirements also that these would need to meet. There are certain types of uses if it isn't just one group of individuals coming to stay there, a family, a group that's traveling to a destination, something like that. They may have an occupant load that's bigger, multiple different people, living there, staying there, multiple different times that may trigger different requirements from the building code.
Yep.
If there's few enough people, or few enough of them, people living there or staying there, they would just be simply considered a single-family residence still, and there would be no change of use. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you, Brady. Commissioners, additional questions for Lauren? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, this is a public hearing. So the podium, I'll open the public hearing. And if there is anyone here that would care to speak to this agenda item, this would be a good time to do it. And I'm not seeing or hearing anybody jump up to the podium. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, this is a zoning ordinance text amendment, and staff recommends approval. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Zant.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Johnson. The floor is open for any commissioners' discussion. Commissioner Schell.
Just want to maybe say some words that aren't in here, so there's no permitting. Maybe I'll look to staff to confirm there's no permit required, there's no additional oversight outside of just the zoning designation, and it would handle complaints or issues on a complaint basis. Is that how this would be managed if passed?
Commissioner Schell, Chair Commissioners, that is correct with how it is currently written.
Thank you, Commissioner Schell. Commissioners, again, I ask the question. Any additional discussion? I would just like to comment that I would like to thank the stakeholder group that was involved in putting this ordinance together, and thanks to staff. It is an ordinance that, in having read it, it is less restrictive than I would have liked, but I like the ordinance, and I think it's a good one to have on the books. And I think that it may be something where the door will be open to change it in the future if we ever need to. So I think it would be a good one to move forward with. Commissioner Schell.
Maybe I'll add one more comment, just reading through the requirements here too. One of the comments that we received from the public was, I guess, concerned that their neighbor was running a short-term rental in the neighborhood. And it was the traffic impact is what it seemed to be was one of the components. And if you had a large home and you had 9 people living in there for a period of time, you might have 9 cars showing up for that period of time, and that is spread out throughout the neighborhood. So the ordinance as it's presented does have language referring to off-street parking and loading. And so I guess if it turns out that they did exceed what a single-family home was allowed for, I guess there would be a recourse that could be pursued, but not because of the uses that are occurring, but just because they have so many individuals living in that home for even that short period of time. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Commissioner Shell. That's a good point. Commissioner Johnson.
Just, Lauren, it might be, or anyone else, just another hypothetical, but if someone had a home and they converted, 9 bedrooms into 9 units, is that allowed in a R5? Could they still do that? Or is there any zoning restrictions that would limit someone from doing that?
Commissioner Johnson, Chair Commissioners, just a question of clarification. Are you talking a family of 9? Are you talking?
No, individual units, so 5 or 9 individual units in one large house.
That there's a current requirement for unrelated individuals per zoning right now. That may or may not change in the future, but as it currently stands within the ordinance, that's in there.
All right, thank you. I think I personally like that it's not too restrictive and that there's other ordinances, whether it be noise or zoning or unrelated individuals, that should limit and provide other means to regulate issues. So, yeah, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any additional comments, commissioners? If not, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Field,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we are down to item 5 in our agenda, and that is other business. And I believe Daniel's going to give us an update on signs.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Yeah, we did want to give you a brief update on something you discussed this winter on public notice signs. It was an ordinance that you had moved forward through this body. That ordinance actually did not get adopted, so it went to the City Commission, and they chose a different route, which was still giving us the same outcome, which I'll describe today. We just placed our first public notice signs this month, so all of the hearings that are held, every time we send postcards out, we'll also go out there and put some signs. These are being done by staff, so the applicants are not doing it themselves. We're putting them mostly in the right-of-way, if available, although the applicants we're asking them to give us permission to go on their property if we need to, if we can't find a suitable site in the right-of-way. We've decided not to puncture the ground in any way. We just really didn't want to deal with one call or, digging through the snow or ice in the winter. So we really decided to use weights, and we've tested this a little bit and believe that it'll withstand wind loads for the signs. So we will take them out tomorrow or later this week, if not possible by tomorrow. The signs do have, it's very limited in the information on that project. However, they do have a QR code that will take you directly to project-specific information. There's also a website URL or phone number if you'd like to call to learn more about the project. But of course, the date of the hearing is on the sign as well. So this is something we've talked about for a number of years. We do postcards, we do newspaper ads, we do the city website. But as you know, we still do, there's always somebody right outside of our postcard range. There's always somebody who doesn't read the Tribune maybe. And so this is just one more effort to try to make sure everyone who wants to know about it can come to the meeting.
Thank you, Daniel. I went out looking for the signs after I knew they were going to be out, and I drove by them. And then I had to come back around. I'm going, you need to put balloons on them or something because they're so darn easy to miss. But, I understand the need for getting them out there and providing another opportunity for folks out there to see that there is something going on and where they should look.
regarding the size of the sign, and unless Gabe beats me to it on this question, so these are not meant to be read by a moving vehicle. They're really meant to be you're pulling over, especially the QR code. We don't want you using that while driving, but so that and we actually are trying to place them in a location where you really could pull over or walk by pretty easily.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So I haven't seen one yet, but is it a paper that fits on there? It's not painted or anything. It's paper that's laminated or something on there?
So, Commissioner Zen, it's a sturdy plastic that we have them printed on any of the permanent text, and then it's a vinyl sticker that we place on the sign for the project-specific text, and we just pull the zip sticker off and we use it.
Commissioners, any other? Mr. Wagon?
That particular sign was near where I live, and to me, it was very noticeable. And it withstood wind and storms, didn't tip over or anything. It stood out. I think the only challenge is in the rural areas when you post those, people will notice them, but there's no place to park or stop where people have access if they want to read what's on the sign unless they park on the roadway.
Good comment. Commissioners, any additional comments for Daniel while we have him up there? Commissioner Shell.
I guess I'll add one more item. There's times if we put up a new speed limit sign or something along those lines, we might put some orange flags above it just to bring more attention to it. So it's something maybe to consider if there's additional just ways to make it more obvious that that sign's there. But it sounds like if people are seeing them, then that it's working. But just keep that in mind too. If you put them out there, but you still have complaints saying I didn't see the sign, there's maybe ways to just upgrade not the sign itself, but bring attention to it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Shell. Any additional comments? Daniel, I'll try and slow down.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to item B in our other business, and that is Land Development Code update.
Okay, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I'll just briefly stay here and then reintroduce you to the consultants who you have met before, but it's been a little while. This is our Land Development Code, as you know, an update to Title 14 of the Code of Ordinances relating to zoning and subdivisions. It's a full-scale project. We've been working on it for quite a while. Many of you have been along for the ride, and we'll be looking to you, of course, in the near future to look at the whole thing together, but we're not quite there yet. The Technical Advisory Committee and the Steering Committee and a few other bodies are meeting this week, and so our consultants are in town to work with them. But we also wanted to make sure to speak with you and give you an opportunity to answer any questions you may have. So, as you may recall, it's Jenny Baker with Clarion Associates and Mary Madden with Madden Planning, who will be giving us an update today.
Good
Welcome,
evening,
Jenny and
Commissioners. Thank you. Some of you will have the great pleasure of hearing this a second time. I'm sure you will enjoy it just as much. Those of you that it's the first time, we are glad to be back in front of you. We are here today to tell you a little about two parts of the ordinance that we are working on. You may recall that it was going to be done in three and a half modules. And so we're going to talk to you about Module 2 and what we're calling 1.5, but it's actually for the downtown. So we'll give you some update on what's been happening, talk to you about the content that is in there, and tell you where to find the drafts if you're interested, and then answer your questions. Okay, so let's go into the project objectives just as a reminder. You all had a part in approving the Together 2045 plan recently, and one of the main reasons to undertake a zoning code update is because those regulations are one of the most important ways that you can support accomplishing the goals and objectives of the plan. So the plan is advisory, goals, objectives, vision. The zoning code is legal and regulatory and mandatory. So you can draft the regulations to get you to some of those goals. And we'll talk a little bit about that with some of the sections that we will go over this evening. Other objectives included to provide you with a code that is more user-friendly. You all are familiar with the current ordinance. It is blocks of text. There are very few illustrations, not much in the way of tables, graphics, anything to kind of help people understand, particularly if they don't really like to take in information through reading so much. I think the code is very challenging currently in that respect, and it's also pretty legalistic. The writing is not, I would say, the most accessible plain English. So one of the things we're really focusing on is providing you something that, mere mortals can understand, and that will be a little easier to access and understand from the perspective of graphics and illustrations. We're also hoping to kind of establish for you a set of objective standards when you are reviewing projects. So you should not be asked to judge whether something is compatible, whether it's harmonious. We want to give you objective standards for making those decisions. Go ahead. Thanks, Daniel. Recently, staff and other consultants, local folks from SRF, have been out in the community to do some outreach. They went to the street fair a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of the month, talked to about 100 people. You can see here what the people were talking about. When you go out for public things, the conversation isn't necessarily guided to be exactly on topic of what the zoning district or what the zoning ordinance is going to cover. So this is what we heard from people. As we get further along, I think those conversations will become more directed. But 100 people at the street fair, and then a week later, Bismarck. And so actually it was about 60, 70 people at the street fair, and then 30 at Bismarck. So we're starting the outreach, trying to bring up the awareness in the community of this project going on. And as we get closer to the end and to the potential adoption, there will be a lot more of that to make sure that nobody is surprised. Mary's going to tell you about downtown.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm Mary Madden, and I'm part of the team. I have been focusing specifically on downtown. Daniel, if you want to go to the first slide. You may ask, why is downtown being called out? And one of the things that we recognize and the new comp plan recognizes that downtown is specific and unique. It's a traditional downtown. So the downtown district in the ordinance is a little bit different than the other districts. It's not just focused on land use and density. It's about the character of downtown, traditional, mixed use, walkable. It does build on the current downtown core and downtown fringe, so it's not like we're coming up with something totally new, but we are going to have more of what we call sub-districts within the downtown area. But the downtown district is a defined geographic area. The standards for downtown will not show up and be part of other districts around the city. As I said, it is focused on traditional downtown form and character with the idea you want to make sure that it's easy for people to build consistent, compatible buildings in downtown, and so that you're not having people wanting to come in and build suburban drive-through restaurants, et cetera. There may be other places in the city that make sense, but that downtown, you want it mixed use, walkable, pedestrian friendly, and arguably one of the most intensive parts, not only in Bismarck, but in the whole state. Next. These objectives may be overlap somewhat with some that are part of the larger ordinance, but one thing is we are creating these sub-districts, so we recognize that all of downtown is not the same, but it is all mixed use. We are trying very hard that anything and everything that you all and the officials would like to see in downtown would still be permitted. We may have a handful of things that are called out that you don't want, heavy industry, et cetera. But everything won't be uniform throughout the downtown, but it will be street-oriented, buildings at the back of the sidewalk, emphasis on mixed use. Looking at scale, context, recognizing if you look at downtown today and the historic buildings that are there, how many of them still have the original use that they had when they were built in 1910. I would speculate not many, if any at all. And so the idea is if you get quality buildings that are compatible with downtown, and 100 years from now, they will still be in downtown, and the uses can and will change over time, not trying to micromanage exactly how somebody uses the downtown buildings. And then really important to encourage reinvestment, compatible infill, not making it hard for people to invest in their properties, and definitely you don't want to encourage disinvestment, but you do want it to be contributing to the overall value of Bismarck. That's big picture on what we're doing with downtown and how we are treating it a little bit differently than the rest of the city. But I think, Jenny, the next one is yours.
All right, so I will tell you a little bit about Module 2, which is development standards. We've come to talk to you before, and the last time we talked about zoning districts and uses. You all, of course, are familiar with what those are because of the job you're doing here, but the way that we tend to think about it and talk about it with the public is districts and uses tell you what you can do and where you can do it. Development standards tell you how does it have to look. So is there landscaping? What kind of lighting can you have? What kind of signs? How much parking? You can see here that those are all covered in this section, and there are some new pieces as well. So I will go through and tell you a little bit about the new ones and then what is changing with the existing ones. All right, starting with improvements in open space. Improvements is a new section, but it's not really new content. This is something that's already being done. One of the things it covers is dedication of easements. That's something that already occurs. It's just, I think, been done more by custom than it has through regulation. So this makes sure that those easements are specified, dedicated, talks a bit about timing. Not new content, just a new section. Open space deals with the way you obtain parks. Again, not new content. There is a current policy. We brought that over and kind of formatted it into the ordinance, but there's no change in the way that parks is going to obtain land for parks during the subdivision process. There is a new section regarding mobility and connectivity. The reason why this was added was to support the plan goal that ensures a robust multimodal transportation system to serve all residents and businesses. So it's a new section, and what it covers is intended to support some steps forward towards accomplishing that goal. One of the things that I think will become topic of discussion potentially is the prohibition of private streets. There is an exception where if you have exceptional circumstances, you may be permitted to have a private street, but if there isn't a reason, like if you have adequate space to devote to right-of-way, the city will ask that public streets be created. This also talks a bit about allowing cross-access between sites. So maybe that can deal with, connecting the parking lots between two adjacent commercial uses instead of making you go back out on the street, up, and then turn into the place next door. It supports secondary access, which might be on your minds after your first hearing tonight. So secondary access, one of the big reasons for this is, emergency access, and that's why I think you were talking about your secondary access tonight. But there are some more specific standards to say when that will be required going forward. There are some basic bicycle and pedestrian standards. If a new development of a certain number of houses is within a certain proximity of an existing shared use path, there would be a request for a connection, and there is further the request for sidewalks and walkways on sites, like navigating through parking lots and things like that. There's new content that deals with lighting and sensitive lands. The sensitive lands stuff includes floodplain, not new for any of you. It does include some content for protecting wetlands. There was stuff in the current ordinance, some content in the current ordinance that dealt with the Missouri River shoreline. That's been removed because it applied in very narrow circumstances and was a little too detailed, and it just wasn't working very well. So that's come out. The one other thing that is in sensitive lands that's not mentioned here has to do with steep slopes, and I think that's a section that we're going to do a little more work on, but it is covered in environmentally sensitive lands. Outdoor lighting is something new. It is a very basic set of standards that can help when you hear the inevitable complaint. My neighbor put up a big light, it's shining directly into my bedroom, right? It's as bright as the sun. Well, these are a set of standards that you can use to determine if it is too bright and kind of use, I think, primarily as enforcement. And then it covers exceptions like holiday lighting, so you can still put up all of your Christmas lights. And it covers exceptions like playing fields. So at night when there are lights on for football games or other things. All right, among the existing sections, here is what is changing or what is proposed to change and the reasons for it. You all have done recently some adjustments to your parking, which we thought brought it into a really good state in terms of comparison with many other communities where we work. And this just goes a little bit further. So the proposal is that instead of just you have to have 36 parking spaces per 600,000 square feet of whatever space, which is honestly like, I don't think it's the most exact science in the world. Now there is a range where you can offer a minimum or a maximum. So there is a little bit more flexibility in there. It's not just this determined number and you have to do it. There are a lot of opportunities for people to demonstrate that even that minimum is too high, and so they would like to provide less and it will still work for their site. So you will see that in there. Still no parking for downtown. In the event that parking is provided or if loading spaces are provided, which are also not required, there are standards they have to meet, but it is not a mandatory thing to do. Oh, something that's the same is that if you provide bicycle spaces, this is one of the ways that you can get a reduction for the number of car spaces. That isn't new, it's just one example of how you can do that, and there are others that you can see in the draft. So for landscaping and buffers and fences, this is something that we kind of put together in a section. There are a couple of things with this. One is to sort of change the focus a little bit, and with landscaping to focus on trees primarily. The reasoning behind that is that trees in particular give the greatest benefits at maturity in terms of helping with air quality, in terms of providing shade, mitigating heat islands, and so we are trying to focus on that rather than providing shrubs that are never taller than 3 feet, or ground cover with mulch or something. So you will see that in the section. There is now a street tree requirement for single-family subdivisions. So that's part of the emphasis on trees. That is something new. And it's something that we see in a lot of places. You're familiar with the older areas right around town and how beautiful those trees in the boulevard are. Hopefully, in 100 years, this requirement will produce the same thing in other areas. Buffers, we are going to change to also focus on trees, not focusing on planting a lot of shrubs in there. That's kind of under revision. We haven't determined yet exactly what those standards will be, but that's the direction it's going. Finally, there is a proposal to do a certain percentage of a site in multifamily, mixed use, and commercial development that is devoted to landscaping. So what that means is all sites have to be covered with something, right? You can't just have like bare ground and dust blowing around. But this is specifically saying that with a multifamily project, you will devote, I think it's 20% of the site to landscaping of some sort. So in this picture, it would be that planting bed or the trees. It's not just the turf grass. For mixed use, I believe it is 15. Commercial development has 10%. And we have industrial at 5. There are a number of exceptions in here for industrial development in terms of landscaping and also buffering their parking lots, just because of where it is in the nature of the development. It maybe doesn't need to be as pretty as your residential zones. Signs are staying the same. It looks different because we were trying to make it a little more user-friendly, but we have not substantially changed any of the requirements, understanding that you all have gone through that fairly recently. There are standards in there right now for downtown signs, and I think those will likely change in substance and location, but so far they have not yet. So that's what's in Module 2. Module 3 status is, well, first of all, Module 3 is administration and procedures. So what that will cover is the procedures by which you make your decisions on your applications, your development review, and then it has kind of administrative stuff about, you know, the authority for the code. It deals with nonconformities and basically like those kinds of administrative things for the zoning ordinance overall. Enforcement and penalties will be in there as well. We are nearly done with the staff draft that we will get to the staff here in October. After a review, we will release that with all of the other sections of the code. So what you will see next is the consolidated code, all of the chapters in one place that you can review start to finish, should you wish to. It will go through the same round of presentations so that you will hear about it, the technical committee, steering committee, and then after that one final round, we will come back with an adoption draft. So there are opportunities for change all along this process. If you come up with something when you review it that you think won't work, or if we hear from the public something that they really don't want to go in that direction, there are still many opportunities to make adjustments. We hope that we'll see you with the consolidated draft, and we certainly hope that we'll see you again in the spring where there will be the opportunity to adopt it. I think that's it. That is it.
That is it? Okay.
So thank
Commissioners?
you for your attention. May I answer any questions?
Commissioners, questions?
No
Mary,
one wants to talk about zoning?
Mary, is the draft available to everybody?
Oh, so there is a version of it that is posted, and I don't know. Is it on the website?
We can distribute it to them.
Stay tuned. It will be on the website, and it will be accessible. I think there are some limited access postings of it, but we will get it up for everyone to be able to see, I would say, within a week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
One thing just I want to add that I failed to say is in addition to the steering committee and the technical committee, we have also met in regards to downtown with the Historic Preservation Commission and the Renaissance Zone Group. So we're trying to make sure that anybody who's actively interested in downtown is giving us input now, not at the back end. So thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. With that, excuse me, Commissioner Johnson.
Could you, PUDs are used a lot right now to deviate from ordinance and kind of do a little bit of whatever you want. Is that addressed at all in this? You mentioned private roads. That's the source of a lot of private roads.
So that will be addressed. There are a couple of things. PUDs generally we find are used in communities that don't have workable zoning districts. So if you can't use a regular zoning district to develop something, people just resort to PUDs. And so first of all, you have an updated slate of zoning districts that we hope will help the community just be able to say, it's going to be R10, it's going to be RM20. And there's flexibility built into those districts, so for any small deviation, you don't need to resort to what is effectively, spot zoning. It's not spot zoning, it's legal, but so there's that. And then we do retain in the codes that we draft the opportunity to do a PUD because you really need it in case something truly unusual comes up. What if you were going to have, a stadium or an outdoor concert venue? There's no way to accommodate those or really predict them in regular zoning. So we keep PUDs for unusual projects, but through functional zoning districts, try to reduce the reliance on them.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Schell?
Jenny, maybe for the next time that we have the presentation, especially when we're talking about those signs,
Yeah.
and that the signs that you were referring to are the on-premise or off-premise advertising signs, that we would have a picture of something like that and not a bunch of stop signs and yield signs as we had previously discussed earlier. So next presentation, just give me a different clip art video.
I did
type
say
thing would be
I
great.
need to update this, and then I did not update that.
Okay.
The ordinance doesn't regulate traffic signs, government signs, and so I should have updated that, and I am sorry that if that was confusing.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Chair, if I may add something.
Yes, Commissioner,
Sure.
Daniel, go ahead.
Sure, and this is just in relation to Commissioner Johnson's question. So the PUD issue is certainly one that we've been looking at very closely. And one thing that staff is doing as well as writing into the new ordinance how to do PUDs is looking at the existing PUDs that we've adopted and conditional zoning ordinances. We have about 135 different zoning districts that are custom in some way, either a conditional district or PUD. We're going through each one of those, and many of them may no longer be necessary in the new code. Some of them were created for a very specific purpose that hopefully we can address with this new code, and so we may be recommending rezoning those to a new base district and getting rid of those conditions if they're no longer necessary. The ones that will continue to be necessary could be reworked into whatever this new format may be for PUDs. One thing that is being discussed and was in Module 1 that instead of using PUDs to be purely standalone districts that would be all self-contained, that they would reference a base zoning district and adjust that base district. And the reason for that is if in the future, if there are changes to that, it would also change with the base district, and it would just continue to adjust that. Because we have a lot of PUDs that become outdated over time because they're no longer, the overall zoning ordinance has changed. So those are a few things we're discussing in that.
Thank you, Daniel. With that, anything else? Any other questions? The only other thing I have on my list is Commissioner Lukens has resigned his seat on this commission, and I wanted to let you all know, and I want to thank Commissioner Lukens for the service that he put in with us. Our next meeting is going to be scheduled for October 22nd, and Commissioner Johnson is going to lead the meeting. So, again, thank you so much, commissioners and staff, for your time this evening. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.